Sarah Fisher in the house.
In the house.
Yeah, what's going on?
Nothing new, nothing new. Just the daily grind, doing the grind.
You've left your French chateau and you're back to reality.
Yeah. I left that fairy tale I called New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's all a distant memory.
And yeah, back into my narrow housing in Amsterdam.
It's a lovely house in fairness.
And you?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what to say. It was in Davos. Yeah, yeah. It's such a strange place.
I
Yeah, I
heard.
realized I was annoying people by telling them I was going, and then I was annoying them even more by saying, "Well, I didn't really go. I just went skiing." It's like I got to change the story. How to make friends and influence people. Yeah,
But did you have good ski weather?
the best skiing, I'd say. I would say is probably some of the best skiing I've ever done. Like, because there's nobody on the slopes. But anyway,
Oh, yeah.
that might be a separate podcast. Steven's here. Let's let him in, see how
All
he's.
right.
All right. So thanks for joining us. It's we met. I think it's about 15 years ago now. When we, God, that's a long time ago. When we started Health Excel, and I remember Jean, my wife, saying to me, "Does this guy from corporate finance? He wants to come, or I wants to hang out with the startups." I was very skeptical. I was like, it's a lot of corporate finance guys, and and then after a while, you kind of said, "Look, I'm thinking about." Was it EY you were with at that stage?
Yeah, I was with Deloitte. Yeah.
Deloitte, yeah. And then after a while, you kind of pulled me aside and said, "I'm thinking about joining one of the companies," and uh, and then you joined, and it was two founders who were brothers. So always tricky to go in. It was almost like Eric Smith going into Google, right?
Mm.
And you become the CEO. So maybe tell us a little bit about the story before that, and then we'll get into Nutritics.
Yeah, it's maybe a little bit of an unconventional career route, but I kind of went through school, university, really interested in finance and corporate finance, and did the degree and master's degree, and moved to London back in 2007 actually, and joined an Australian bank, Macquarie, over there, and really enjoyed it. I couldn't speak highly enough of them as an organization, and particularly at the time when you kind of work from an organization from 2007 to 2012. If anyone remembers back, you learn a hell of a lot. When times are tough, you learn twice as much. But the way that business operated, set up, the way they look after their people, and so on. Really enjoyed it. And I think I was very reluctant to kind of leave London, but
Yeah,
I suppose I always knew that my heart was in Dublin. So I took the really hard decision to finish up with Macquarie, because yeah, as I mentioned, they're a super employer, and came back to Ireland. And at the time, Deloitte, which you mentioned, were kind of starting up. We're kind of doing a new version, I suppose, of the world of M&A and fundraising and so on. And they were kind of looking around, and had a good chat with them, and really enjoyed, I suppose, getting on board with that, and working with them. But I think kind of as I was coming towards the end of my time in Macquarie, and I suppose as I went on that journey with Deloitte over a couple of years, it became quite apparent to me personally that just something wasn't right. And it was not that I enjoyed finance. If you speak to anyone in our business today, they'll tell you that tell me to be quiet when I start talking about it. But it was that I kind of felt that this kind of, if I'm to describe it, I suppose bluntly, a kind of rat race trying to get up a career ladder and so on and so forth, and it just wasn't really for me.
mhm.
So I kind of looked, my dad set up his own business before, and I've looked at that and witnessed it firsthand, and kind of said, well, you know what? At the time, I would have been probably late 20s, no mortgage, no kids, and just like, look, if I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Mhm.
So I as I said, I kind of looked around Dublin, came across yourself and Jean Martin, who
Yeah.
were very, very good to take a chance, because I'm sure there's many who wouldn't. And yeah, met Damien and Kieran and saw what they were doing. Hugely impressive.
And they were in business
And
for a while, a couple of years before, right? They had some big clients and
yeah, so they wrote the first line of code in Nutritics at the end of 2011. Damien and Kieran were studying different courses put together in Leeds University, and it came out of Damien's frustration with the software that he was using as part of the course, and Kieran as a software developer who had a huge talent for design, or who has, sorry, not had, still has a huge talent for design and coding, and it was a marriage made in heaven in many respects, because Damien really understood food data, nutrition, how it all should kind of come together, and you bring foods into recipes and into meal plans and so on. And Kieran kind of made it work and kind of took it out, I suppose, of a very complicated spreadsheet. But they kind of chipped away at that, I suppose, really kind of during that master's course. And probably I'd say at the end of 2012, start of 2013, when the software, I suppose, was at a kind of MVP stage, Damien started showing it to not only his own university, but a couple of other universities like Oxford University and so on. And it became very clear quite quickly that there was a gap in the market for this software, and not only in the university space, but also actually in the sports space as well, where you needed food data to plan meals and analyze diets. And yeah, so when I was, I suppose, when I got to introduce them, kind of one of the first lines was, yeah, we're working with Oxford University and the English Institute of Sport. So I kind of like, well, there's not many companies at your stage who are doing that
and
already. So
they
that was
had
a good
bootstrapped, right?
start.
They hadn't raised any money. They just bootstrapped it themselves. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, yeah, and that's the way. That's really kind of been the way of the business ever since. You know, we've taken on a little bit of debt, but kind of really focused on charting our own course, and you know that I'm sure will change in time as we continue to grow. But yeah, a lot of hard days and nights bootstrapping the business.
So the guys had got something going, but it was super early, and you were coming in from the kind of safe corporate finance world into this very small company where the two brothers obviously had a lot of history. How did that work out? Because it's a tricky for two reasons. One, coming from very structured, and secondly, going into a family business in effect.
I would say everyone, well, maybe not everyone, but 95% of people who I spoke to said, absolutely do not do it. Do not do it. You'll be mad to do it, because you're leaving a safe, stable career. You're going into this environment where you know you've got two brothers, and you know it'll be 2 and 1 and so on. And the 95% were completely wrong. Completely wrong. It has been fantastic, because I suppose the way that the relationship has evolved is that Damien has an incredible understanding of food data and product, and how it should work and how it should look, and who uses what when and how they should use it and so on. And Kieran brings that to life. But perhaps there was a gap there, maybe on the business side, that I could help with, in terms of, okay, well, now we've got this incredible offering. How do we actually kind of bring it out to the market? So we were each very clear in terms of, you know, we all kind of chip in for different bits, but we were each very clear in terms of where our strengths were, and really just focused on trying to kind of build on that. And I suppose my focus was really trying to grow out the sales side of the business at the start in particular. And it's still the same today. You know, it's still the same today. I would meet with Damien and Kieran very regularly, and the dynamic is the same as it was 10 years ago.
You didn't come in as CEO, right?
No, we came. What was my job title at the start? I think it might have been COO. I think that the job title bit was funny at the start, because I remember leaving Deloitte, and I was like, I'm gonna have to think of something here that makes me sound semi-credible leaving. So I was like, well, how am I gonna do this? What will I call myself? So look, I think, I think job titles, going back to what I mentioned about the kind of rat race earlier, I think they serve a purpose, but I think life is a lot more important than job titles.
Yeah. So sorry, Sarah, did you want to come in?
No, I was going to say, and also naturally, as being the finance guy, you kind of gave some gentle advice about what your position should be and how you were going to navigate. Like, I actually think, standard terms to me look like this for a newcomer into this relationship. Or how did that go? The negotiation about bringing you in as COO? Like, how did you handle that?
It was actually a funny story. That met David and Kieran at their granny's house, and they offered me coffee, but none of us realized at the time that
why are we at the granny's house?
Yes. He's a good negotiator, I think.
No, I think that was actually our
had a hostage.
It's a nice tactic. Talk to my granny and we'll see how this goes.
It's actually a good question. So I don't know why it's at the granny's house, but I do know that was the location of our first office, or kind of half first office or something. So I think we got a room free somewhere at the time. There was something anyway that kind of drew us to that. But the lads got out the coffee machine and the percolator. Anyway, whatever way it worked, you're supposed to, you kind of put in you make, I suppose, 6 pots of coffee or 6 cups of coffee. And I don't think Damien realized at the time that what he was giving me was actually 6 caffeine cups of coffee. So I drank it and I was like, God, this is really strong, but I can't really say anything because we're kind of at a difficult juncture, in terms of trying to figure out where we go, what we do. We're not difficult, we just need to be sensible. But I could kind of feel my head going more and more, kind of spinning around. So we had to kind of pause for a little while, and I was like, look, I'm actually just going to have to go for a walk here and try and get back down to zero. So the poisoning effort didn't work, unfortunately. But no, look, very simple and straightforward chat around, look, here's where we think we are. Here's what I think I could do with the business. Here's what I think is fair and reasonable. And really, that's the way that we approach all conversations in the business, not only between myself and David and Kieran, but really with everyone. Because I think that people element and driving that culture and so on is so important, and has to be driven from the top, as well as throughout the business.
Yeah. I mean, my recollection was all of you were just so straightforward, and there was just no messing, and you did what you said, and things weren't overly complicated, and you built trust, and so that was almost 10 years ago, maybe more, Stephen, is it? I'm trying to remember the dates.
Yeah, so it was where are we now, March 25. So I left Deloitte in September 2014. So just over 10 years now.
Okay. And that journey then from the initial customers and education, through to where you are now, I guess there's been a few kind of learnings in terms of who the customer is and what they want, and maybe some pivots along the way. Maybe tell us a little bit about the journey.
Yeah, I think when we started, it was quite clear that there was a market for us in education and sport, and there was kind of an emerging interest, I'd say, in healthcare. And again, all around a huge data set of food data, and applying it for analyzing diets for kind of renal patients, for example, or kind of more acute settings. During the time, MyFitnessPal was quite popular, as well. So this kind of whole diet and meal planning thing was, I suppose, on the rise. But one thing that we didn't have in any business plan, which again, sometimes you kind of make your own look, is that the allergen legislation changed across Europe at the end of 2014, if memory serves me correctly. It was certainly sometime in 2014, where every restaurant in Europe had to tell the customers what was in their food, the allergens. And we initially didn't quite put 2 and 2 together. But what we saw through the online business was that there was contract caterers signing up to the software and using it. And I was like, well, that's a bit odd. Why are they analyzing diets? And we're like, oh, they could be working in hospitals, so on. Anyway, we started going out to talk to them. and they described this challenge they had around the allergens, that they can't get the right allergens for the food, but actually they saw our food database and it had all the right allergens, and they were actually more comfortable using that. And kind of the conversation kind of evolved from that. It was like, well, okay, well, we can give you this, do you have a recipe builder in your software? It's like, yes, but you have to buy it as part of the diet analysis bit. I'm like, no, just split that out, so we effectively made a standalone product for food service. And then as you get to know your customers better, you add things on around cost management or around supply chain management, or publishing the information out to a label and so on. So that conversation with customers is always ongoing. At times we've been lucky with the allergen legislation at the start. I suppose it sent us in a different direction than we originally envisaged. But then at the same time, I suppose you make your own luck. It was the same for everyone else in the market. But we felt that we could do it if we focused on the accuracy and the reliability of the underlying data. That then you build the trust, then you build the reliability, and the customers will come.
And is that where the business is today, Stephen? Is that the main source of customers?
Yeah, so I'd say, off the top of my head, I'd say probably close to 85-90% of the business is in food service and hospitality, and it's really focused on helping operators run safer, more sustainable, and more profitable businesses. So the primary use case is taking the complex information from the supply chain of a restaurant group, a pub group, a caterer, a hotel, bringing that into a central platform, primarily to manage recipes, so create recipes, design the menus based on the particular use case, and then publish that information out to customers. So publish it out to the website, publish it out to the food label, to a delivery app, wherever it needs to go. So it's an end-to-end, I suppose, food management system in a sector where there's two main costs: people and the product that you serve. So we're very focused on the product, but not to forget, I suppose, our roots. Like, we still do have quite a good presence. We still work with Oxford University. We still work at the English Institute of Sport 10, 11 years later. Very much enjoy that, and that will always be a part of the business, because it's that kind of research-based accuracy, reliability is in the DNA. And it's important that we continue to stay true to that as well. And part of that involves servicing those markets, I suppose, that we started with.
And when did the sustainability angle come front and center for you guys with the whole, I think one of the products is called Food Print, right? I saw. But when did that sort of move for you in allergens and then eventually sustainability, or how did that go?
So sustainability, I'd say, was more in recent years. I think, so I suppose if I take a step back in terms of the people in the business, one of the great benefits of working with universities is that the students use your software, and the ones who like it tend to send you an email saying, can we come working for you? So we've been really lucky, again, just getting some incredible talent from universities. But I suppose as a result of that, there would certainly be a younger group of team members. And as we kind of got into sort of 2018, early 2019, there was a lot of conversation around environmental impact, sustainability, the impact that the food system has on this whole area. And we were looking at it and we're like, look, we're a food data business, and we have to be able to tell the environmental impact of what people are eating. It doesn't make sense for us not to. So we went and researched it, and just realized that it was this incredibly complicated. I cannot describe the complexity involved in the simple environmental impact of a cup of coffee. But we said, no, this is what we want to do. It's true to our roots, and it's also where the world is moving. So it's that kind of, I suppose, continued focus around, okay, well, where is the world? Where is it moving towards? What do people want to know? 10 years ago, it was nutrition. It's more and more environmental now. Bits of social coming in around accessibility to food information and how you make that inclusive for everyone. And it's really trying to stay ahead of those population trends.
Yeah, I mean, do you find yourself competing with your old employer maybe? Because it's funny, I don't know, it was maybe about a year or two ago But I think Deloitte contacted one of the food companies here in the Netherlands that I work with and was like, hey, we're trying to put out like a rating system, like an energy label rating system on food products. So it sounds like they're trying to, or considering, trying to create their own database or their own methodology around this space.
Yeah, yeah, and they wouldn't be the first. I think it's an area that is certainly open to innovation. I think different people do it different ways. There's a way that you can kind of do it with life cycle assessments that would be very kind of for retail products, which I think is more where Deloitte is focused, and they'll be very good at that alongside all of the kind of similar competitors in the business. I suppose we kind of sit at the other end of the market, and what I mean by that is if you compare retail, which is one product in a package, millions of them made every year, to hospitality, where you will get the products in the door, but you need to create the recipe, and you're not 100% sure what will come in the door because the might have been a supply chain issue somewhere. So you've got this huge amount of complicated data that you don't have the time to do full life cycle assessments for. So you need to find alternative ways of gathering that information and making it available as well. So the kind of more competitors on our end of the market will probably be more of the startups as opposed to the Deloittes.
Talk to us a little bit about bootstrapping and then moving to debt, because I guess to raise debt, you're going to have to be profitable. So you didn't go down the kind of traditional startup road of raising venture. Just talk us through kind of that evolution, what you learned from it.
Yeah, I think that you're someone with a background in corporate finance is probably the least likely person to want to bootstrap a business, because it's just
it's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. But I think there were a couple of things. I think we saw first of all, I suppose, the sales and the growth in the business, and those numbers were really, and still to this day, quite frankly, were really growing strong. We were always kind of stuck with this. Well, if we just hold off a little bit longer, could we get a little bit further down the journey and so on?
Yeah.
But I think alongside that, we really wanted to be in control of our own destiny. And it's not a selfish thing or anything like that. It was more so that we had and have a long-term vision for the business, that we wanted to be, I suppose, the leaders, the most trusted resource of food data anywhere in the world. And we knew that if we wanted to do that, bringing in a financing option that wanted to be in and out in 3 years and flip you off somewhere else just wouldn't work. So we were kind of trying to marry the two of them. And I suppose fundamentally we wanted to build a great business. And whilst I do have the background in corporate finance, I would also have quite a strong view that a great business needs to be profitable, it needs to be, operationally very, very resilient. So we built that up, and probably took us a little bit longer than it would have been if we'd taken on funding. But now looking back, it was absolutely the right decision, and it enabled us to take on debt. It just gave us much more access to also on flexibility in terms of who we want to bring onto our board, and flexibility around what we want to do next as well. So I wouldn't change. There's lots of little bits that you change kind of on the journey as you go, but the core piece around how we did it from a financing perspective, I wouldn't change any of that at all.
What are the things that now, I mean, so you, at some point you transitioned into that CEO role, right? And what's keeping you guys busy now? Like, what are the things, what's top of mind for you as you continue to scale?
I think the thing that probably keeps us busy, scares us, is just the size of the opportunity that's out there in front of us. Like, we see a need for every single restaurant, pub, hotel, caterer, everywhere in the world to have a use case for our software. And as a result, it's incumbent on us to drive that as quickly as we possibly can and make sure that everyone knows about us, knows the return on investment it can bring, and really kind of really make sure that we put in place the structures and the processes to deliver that. So we spend a huge amount of time thinking about how do we scale the business in the right way? Spend a lot of time trying to find the right people to bring in to help scale the business, and really spend the third pillar is spend a lot of time out in the market. Again, trying to continually keep up and stay ahead of both customers and the market. So it's really about strategically thinking about the business, where we are now, who are the people who can help get us to the next level. And we try and hire people who are at the level that we want to get to, and then someone will pull us there one way or the other. So it's really the strategic stuff that is keeping us busy and awake at night.
What does scaling the right way mean, Stephen? And like, what does that mean in terms of culture and people?
Yeah, my strong view very, very strong view is that a business doesn't grow. It's the people that grow in the business. And it's as clear as night and day around that. So when you're trying to scale, if you are not focused on the people and have not got that absolutely the best that you can do it, something is going to break somewhere. So when I say scaling the right way, the focus has to be on your team, on your people, doing the best for them, creating the environment and the culture that they will I suppose sit down at the desk and really want to go with you on the journey. And it's hard to do that. And there's lots of reasons why you won't do things, or why you kind of, you shouldn't invest in people if you're trying to drive the P&L and so on. But all of that just catches up on you in some shape or form, because if you take it a step back, the enabling the people to grow in your business, to give them the flexibility, the space to make mistakes, allow them to make mistakes, be comfortable with them making mistakes, only helps them learn and grow. And as a consequence, then the business grows.
But I assume there's certain mistakes you don't want them to make, that could be really damaging. So how do you manage that? There must be some tension there.
I think it's more around little nudges here and there, rather than I think I suppose the worst thing that you can do as a manager is kind of go right in and intervene directly and say, no, don't do A, do B. My approach to management would be more around, well, if you actually kind of talk people through the consequences of A and B and what might work and so on, and let them arrive at the decision themselves, it creates far more empowerment and I suppose confidence and so on. So there's certainly, I suppose guardrails around that freedom, and particularly around if that spending large amounts of money and so on. But that's not really where the conversation is. It's more about the micro, the day to day. Try different things, see what works, see what doesn't work, and grow and develop, and you'll know next time and so on. But as a consequence, those mistakes, in inverted commas, just become less and less, because you give people confidence, you give people the empowerment, and that they feel that they're trusted to grow the business, which does definitely get the best out of people.
And how big is the organization now? Like, how has your path to growth been on the team side?
Yeah, so when joined, it was just myself, Damien, and Kieran. I think it took us a year to get to 4, and then maybe another year to get to 6. So we're at 85 now, which is sort of a bit the people growth has kind of increased a little bit, and yeah, that will only continue.
And talk a little bit about letting people grow versus bringing people in who have experience, and how you think about that dynamic.
Yeah, that's hard, and there's no other way to put it. I think that there's probably, if I'm to generalize it, and I'm not being, I suppose, specific with our organization, there's people who will grow with the business and people who won't. And I think it's trying to, I suppose, identify the people that will grow with the business and bring them along with you. but also they will grow at different stages and different rates. And it can be extremely helpful to bring in people from outside to help support them with that growth. So I suppose our approach would always be first, okay, well, who in the business that we feel can step up to this level, or try something different. But if for whatever reason we didn't have that skill set, so for example, when we were really kind of getting deep on the ground in the UK, we just didn't have people who were used to kind of going down knocking on doors in the UK. So we had to bring in people around that, to just really further develop the people that we had already. So I think it's a mix. It's a mix of the two. It's hard to get it right, but I suppose if you go back to the core culture piece around team first, and really, being open and acting with integrity with the team, everyone understands that you're not trying to kind of shortcut people or anything like that. Everyone's coming from the same place, and we're all trying to grow. And actually, if someone externally comes in, it's a fantastic opportunity to learn.
Yeah. So we
What have you used to support yourself? Sorry. So what have you used for yourself? I mean, a lot of times you hear, there's mixed reviews on the value of venture investment in terms of coaching and support and founder support and mental health and da da da. And you don't, you as kind of a company that's bootstrapped its way through, who's been in your corner and who have you used coming out of corporate in this kind of new role? Who have you used to kind of help you navigate?
Yeah, that journey has really evolved actually. So in the first few years, I'd say no one. And not that it was wrong. Well, sorry, apart from the gym, I would be lost without the gym. So I'm always at the gym. I gotta go to the gym or whatever. So that's always there.
You take out your frustrations
in the corner. Let's go down that road. Yeah, no, look, the gym is a great outlet for mental health, but as well as you, but frankly, the challenges that you have employing 5, 10, 15 people aren't the same as the ones that you have today. And much more complicated today because there's so many different strands that you need to consider when you're making decision. And as a consequence, you do definitely need more support and more sounding boards. So I think there's probably two things that have evolved in our journey that has really helped, both from a company and a personal perspective. From a company perspective, COVID was a real, I suppose, eye opener for us in terms of the resilience and strength of the business, and the business really grew during COVID in a sector that was deeply challenged at the time, but kind of moving towards technology. So we felt that we need to take advantage of this and bring in more expertise around the board table to really, take us to the next level. So as a company, we brought in an unbelievable chair in Pat McCann, who founded Delata Hotels, the Clayton and Maldron hotel brand, and grew that up to be listed, alongside Ben Hood, who grew a company called Fourth from literally nothing to an absolute monster today, and then Joe Hogan as well, who's a fantastic entrepreneur in telecoms in Ireland, and a great supporter of the startup ecosystem. So we brought that support structure in around the business, and then around myself. I suppose I kind of felt that there was a great resource of similar people that must be going through the journey as well as myself. So I've joined, there's lots of them out there, but I've joined an organization called YPO, which is a super resource, I suppose, for CEOs to share ideas and get executive education and so on. But that's one of many, and I wouldn't change any of that at all. If you kind of tell me that I had to give up my board or YPO membership, that would be just not a runner, because they're so important to have that outlet and to have that just that sounding board.
Let's come back to the team first versus customer first. Yeah, so I have a view which is, businesses exist to serve a customer problem rather than to look after their employees. So how do you think about those? There's always a trade-off between what the customer is demanding and what, looking after the team. So how do you think about that, Stephen?
one of our values used to be customer first. So I agreed with you up until 2020, I think, Martin. But
Right.
now I strongly disagree with you.
Okay.
And there was a particular event, I suppose, where we had a customer who, look, customers come in various shapes and sizes, and we love all of our customers equally and so on. But this customer was particularly demanding, and it just kept going, and it got to the point that I could see that a couple of our team were really struggling with it. And I was looking at this and I was like, okay, we're customer first. We have to try and keep the customer happy, but actually our team are really suffering here. And using the sounding board that I mentioned there, I mentioned a couple of times, and the feedback that I got, which is fantastic feedback, was you just need to tell the customer to go away. Tell the customer that they're not welcome, they can't use the software anymore.
Yeah.
And you don't want them, because for a few different reasons. So that's exactly what I did. I emailed the CEO of the customer. That was, not a small customer. It's probably the best way to describe it, and a significant scale, I suppose, as well as their business with us, and just outline my position that we were withdrawing from the contract, wasn't happy with the way the team was treated. And I got an email back, I'd say within 30 minutes. Completely understand, really apologize. We didn't realize this was happening. We'll totally change everything. And in fairness, they did, and they're customer to this day, and a super customer. But what it did was it just mobilized and galvanized a team, because they were like, actually, as a leader, this guy's in our corner. He's not in the corner of the customer and the revenue growth and so on. And as a result, because I feel the team know I'm in their corner, they actually perform really well with customers.
Yeah.
So it looks after itself. It is customer first in some respects, but it's very much by the back door. If you look after the team, everything else will come from that.
Yeah, it sounds like you got a win-win there. So congratulations.
Yeah, and look, could have turned out horribly wrong. And that's sometimes the dice you have to roll. But you have to stick to your principles and your fundamentals around making sure that what's important stays important.
Brilliant. I'm just conscious of time, Stephen. So this podcast is about great companies and what makes a great company in terms of customers, looking after your employees, your investors, etc. So your role model is
A company called Whoop.
Whoop. Good name, right? So
One of my favorites.
I'm not a customer. I don't know about Sarah, but
no, I considered, but then I realized, like, this is now I'm gonna, have a little reflection back to our Jason Foster episode, which you can watch. But I had a little crack at him because he had a Whoop on his arm, and I thought that was like for elite athletes. He's like, what are you saying? I'm not an elite athlete. So yeah, I mean, I feel, maybe it's like a stupid thing, but like, I kind of thought, oh, that Whoop looks cool. Like, it's not a watch. I don't have to look at a screen. And then I thought, but what am I measuring? Like, I don't really do that much. I didn't feel worthy of the Whoop. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm the same. So tell us why you picked them, Stephen.
Yeah, so well, first of all, I'm a customer, so I'm naturally conflicted, I suppose, in my assessment. But what I really, and I was kind of torn between Whoop or Spotify and a couple of others, but what I really, really admire about Whoop is their ability to take on the big guys and win. And to be able to do that, not only is it so hard because they'll have more money than you, they'll have more people, they'll have more resource, they'll have more everything, but you have to stay true to your vision and what you want to be and where you want to go and so on. So in the case of Whoop, the obvious bit is, why isn't it a watch? You've got this device on your arm, it does everything, but it won't tell me the time. So I also have to wear a watch. Why is this? But actually, that's part of the reason that makes Whoops so good, in my view, is that they have the core discipline to say, no, we're really good at tracking, health and wellness and giving you vitals and where you are with on a particular day across your resting heart rate or your heart rate variability or whatever it is. And we're going to stay, and we're only going to do that, and we're going to be really, really good at it. And we're not going to employ 100 engineers to design watch faces and to take calls in your watch and everything. We are just going to do that, and we're going to do it the best. And to have that, I suppose, conviction, bravery, and execution is really special.
So what are the metrics you usually, because I mean, if you talk to people who wear the Aura ring, it's all about sleep. I watch my sleep on that. I wear this ring for sleep. So what are the metrics you monitor with Whoop? Like, what are you watching all the time?
It's kind of a mix of everything, really, isn't it? You kind of want to stay, I think there's kind of different sources of wealth. There's financial, there's social, there's family wealth, but also there's health wealth. And I think I suppose being on top of your health constantly is critical. Because the second you lose that, you've lost everything. So it's the kind of daily, you can monitor stress, you can monitor your recovery, you can kind of monitor your rate of breathing and so on. And it's really just to try and, I suppose, make sure that you're on the straight and narrow. I am absolutely not an elite athlete, not even an athlete. It's a gross over exaggeration. But
we can buy one now, Sarah. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. All right, I'm getting convinced. You're selling me.
No, it's they've definitely expanded their market. But it's just, I suppose, having a good eye on that and making sure that if I don't look after myself, it'll have knock-on implications on my family. It'll have knock-on implications in the business, which is really important.
The smart guests pick private companies, because it's hard to understand the financials, and you're just getting the press release. So well done on your selection. It's hard, it's hard to get underneath that, but so we're going to assume that what we've read, that the financials look okay or good. We're going to buy the customer innovation and focus strategy. You've talked about team and the importance of team and putting them first. So how do you think about Whoop in that regard, in terms of what's your take on how they manage their team and their culture and the org?
I think they have a strong culture really of two things, of innovation, which would attract the best talent, and also naturally a culture of well-being. And I think that the two of those, I suppose, ingredients are really a core driver of success. The well-being piece, going back to the point, if you look after the team, and it doesn't have to be, fancy offices and so on. It's much deeper than that. It has to be, making sure that they're stress-free in the best environment and so on. And Whoop naturally enables that. And then also the culture of innovation. We can push the boundaries further and further in what we do. The two of them, I suppose, side by side, it just enables them to hire really good people, in areas like AI and wellness and so on, and drive that culture and ultimately, I suppose, drive the performance of the business.
Okay.
Do you also deploy a subscription model, or what is your business?
Yeah.
So we found with Whoop, like one of the things we did find was, the only major complaint you could find was billing subscription, hard to cancel, blah, blah, blah. How do you handle that with customers? I'm curious. Like, how does your subscription, what's your approach to making that flexible, easy, or oops, you didn't read, or whoop, you didn't read the fine print?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think I think if you make it difficult for customers to cancel, they won't come back. So I suppose we've got I would say a high degree of flexibility around that. For some customers we have contracts, and that's appropriate because the cost profile might be very high at the start, and you need to make sure that you don't cost the business money with that. But in general, if a customer doesn't want to use the technology, doesn't want to be with us, they should absolutely have the freedom to go and find a better place for them. It's not. I'm not. I need to be careful about coming across as arrogant or anything, which I'm definitely not. It's not really a huge problem for us. We're more business to business, and we kind of tend to find that it's extremely rare the customers leave, but at the same time, you know, whereas with group it's business to consumer and it's transient, and you know, I can certainly understand that it would be, I suppose, much more of a challenge within that sector. But I think trying to hang on to people and hang on to their money just doesn't work long term.
Yeah.
I think that's a good way of wrapping up, Stephen. So we're up on time, unfortunately.
Okay, that's quick.
It's been fascinating. Yeah, it was quick. It's been fascinating to kind of hear you talk about staying true to your vision, but also then that vision changing. Well, not the vision changing, but like the commercial changing in terms of who your customer is and how you continue to manage your educational customers, but this fairly significant change and how to put the employee first, or how to be selective about your customers. You know, it's about saying you're not the right customer for us, or if you don't behave this way, you're not the right customer. I think, as you say, that builds a huge amount of trust. You've been very modest as well in terms of your success with Entrepreneur of the Year and everything you've been doing there. So we'll put some of that in the show notes as well. So just wanted to say thank you. It's been great to catch up, and let's do more catching up.
Yeah, no, delighted to chat and really enjoy it. And you know, if you're not enjoying things, what's the point?
Yeah, that was super lovely meeting you, Stephen. I really enjoyed the conversation.
We'll be
Great.
in touch.
Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers.
All right, we appreciate that. See you.
Ciao.
Yeah.